And good Monday morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. Off to the races we go for July the 29th as this month is ending and we're getting ready for August. School will be back in before we know it. Those are the cases this morning. 73 right now as you're waking up. It's going to be more than hot. It will be extremely hot today. We're expecting the temperature to be 96 with a heat index of 110. Now, depending upon where you live, it could be from 107 to 110. But that's what we're expecting here. Heat advisory is in effect today. Take it very lightly with what you do. The hours of 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. are usually the worst to be outdoors working in the heat. If you can work before or after that, it'll be a whole lot better for you. We do have a 40% chance of showers in the forecast that will roll in sometime after 2 o'clock. We've seen these showers here the last few weeks, haven't we? Some of them pretty strong. Use caution when traveling. We had a bunch of accidents over the weekend dealing with rain and flash flooding and all of that. Odie is going to be off this morning. Greg will be coming in this morning to fill in. I hope you'll join us. That all begins at 7. There are so many stories that are local that we're going to be covering. Shots fired. We've got a murder. We've got a stabbing. Someone shot. Car chases, well, the whole 9 yards. We've got all that lined up for you beginning at 7 this morning. Let's change the direction at this point. Make it better. Let's go to Collinsville. Let's go out to the Baptist Church and hear something good from Brother Ben.
You know, you can generally choose where you live, but you can't always choose your neighbors. Look, I've been fortunate over the years to have some really good neighbors. In fact, I have great neighbors on both sides of me right now. But not everybody is so blessed. Neighbor relations can be difficult. There can be disputes over boundaries and noise. You may not like the way they keep their property up or feel that they're nosy. There can also be cultural or personality difference. I mean, the list could go on, right? But because neighbors can be difficult, we're tempted to get aggravated with them and even despise them. But listen to today's wisdom from Proverbs 14:21. It says, whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner. In other words, God hates it when we despise our neighbor. And we despise our neighbor when we pass judgment on their differences, when we disrespect them and make assumptions about them, when we talk bad about them to others. We despise our neighbors when we're inconsiderate of them or maybe even try to compete with them, right? All of these are ways we can sin against our neighbor. But God has a different plan for our neighbor relations. He clearly commands us through Jesus to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. In other words, treat your neighbor how you want to be treated. Now, that sort of approach will not only change your relationship with your neighbor, it'll change you. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Good morning to Jeff. I see Chet is stirring this morning. Pat, also Jerome Lee. Y'all be careful, don't spill your coffee. Although I've had a couple of cups, it's still a little blurry at this point. The lights are bright in here as we begin this Monday. It's been an early day as we all start that to make a living and get things going. We'll keep you posted throughout the day of what happens in our community and nationwide should affect you. As we look at some of the headlines that are shaping America today, we go to Oregon. We've all heard of the wildfires that go on. We lost someone on Thursday afternoon, an experienced pilot that puts out these fires. A crash happened in Oregon. He's been identified as of late yesterday afternoon as James Bailey Maxwell. He was 74, a pilot that went and put out the fires of how they dropped water. He lost his life in an airplane accident. It doesn't stop there when we talk about airplanes. We send condolences on this one. And again, although I'm not familiar with them, I'm sure there are many of you who listen to gospel music. Anyone ever heard of the Nelsons? It's a family group. They were on their plane headed to a show with the Gaither homecoming cruise to Alaska. If you're familiar with the Gaithers, they were in flight there. Their plane went down. 3 family members of the band died. 4 others perished with them. A total of 7 went down in that plane. I think they have 1 lone survivor that was not on the plane when it crashed. We send condolences to that family. That is That is horrible. And again, I don't know the group. I'm not as big on the Southern gospel side of music as I should be, but sad news for that community as we wake up this morning to find all of that out. Again, they were headed to Alaska when that went down. Sure hate that. We see that California has wildfires. 5,000 acres so far has burned. Firefighters are battling it. They got about 4,000 firefighters out there. We don't have that problem here in the Deep South like they do in California, Oregon, and states like that. That terrain is up and down. We think of those fighting this. Closest thing I think we've had to that was when Gatlinburg burned, a wildfire that couldn't be controlled. I give credit where credit is due, is how I stumble as I start this with Taylor Swift. She's big. She is an international star. People love her. They turn up by thousands to see her. Germany is where our story goes this morning. Her shows were sold out, but, well, the town folks got smart. About 25,000 of them climbed a hill and could see over it where the show was going, and they got to watch it for free. It was sold out. They couldn't get in. They did the best they could, and, well, it looks like it worked for them. Can you imagine that? 25,000 extra people after a show is sold out wanting to see you? That's big. We're proud of her. Her music may not be my favorite in the world, but there's a whole bunch of people that like her. Have you ever seen someone get a job that, well, maybe isn't qualified for it? It's coming out of San Francisco as we see that what they're referring to as a woke DA, which means sometimes the law is very blurred in what they do and turn people out that probably should spend time in jail. She's hired an assistant is the problem. Taxpayers are saying she's not qualified. The position pays $300,000 a year and she has no qualifications. That just spells bad news, doesn't it? We'll leave it at that. It's all across the U.S. in our big cities. People that do not need to be in their positions. We even have a few here in the Meridian area, don't we? Maybe in your small town. Aren't qualified and don't know what they're doing. We've got that problem just like San Francisco does. I was looking at this list, and for most of us, the word in Mississippi, probably 50,000 is a great salary in the state of Mississippi. We look to some of these bigger cities, as I just mentioned, where inflation is just rampant. Rent is awful. Here are 6 cities, and let me name these cities as we look at this. Number 6 is Dallas, Texas, Chicago, Charlotte, North Carolina, Boston, Baltimore, and Atlanta, Georgia comes in at 1. And what am I talking about? You're still considered low income in these cities if you make $200,000 a year. That's how out of hand prices have gotten in these cities. Now, that's bad, isn't it? $200K and you're just barely getting by. I'd hate to even think what the cost of living is in somewhere like L.A. It's got to be atrocious as we look at that. Now, again, our area, if you've made it to 50, you're doing pretty good. We do see that the state is starting to change a little bit, and we see a little bit north Mississippi. Those new jobs that came in there, do y'all remember that? Average of $93,000 a year. Well, we need some of that in the lower end of Mississippi, don't we? That eastern side, we'll even take it in the central. It all affects our area here. It'd be good to get some good jobs there. Mayor of New York issued an emergency halt as a new law was going to take effect yesterday. Put a halt on it till they can do something about it, and it would restrain the police. And y'all know why this is, especially our law enforcement community. Those of you who have been affected by criminals. I even saw that this weekend, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. But as someone is arrested, they're taken in. Say they act up and they need to be put into a cell all by themselves. The woke, as I put it, had passed a law to where they couldn't be held for more than 4 hours if they were bad. 4 hours doesn't calm down some of these people who are, they're I'm trying to think of the best word for it. If you've ever watched somebody that screams, kicks, yells, and bites and does anything they can, that's what a lot of police officers deal with. They mean to harm them and anyone in the cell that's with them. It not only protects a police officer, it protects the person that they're in the cell. You got to put yourself in this place. You could have been speeding. You can be taken to jail for running over the speed limit 85. You could be taken in. Would you want to be next to somebody as you're waiting for bail to get out? It depends upon the officer if you're taken in on stuff like that. But a very serious thing. He did halt it. Let's hope they fix that in New York. My gut says they won't. Now, yesterday afternoon, I'll bring this up. I spoke with Senator Jeff Tate. He was getting ready to go for a visit at the East Mississippi Correctional Facility. I rode along with him as the media and toured the East Mississippi Correctional Facility. As we well know, we've had 2 deaths there this month alone. I think it could be 4, possibly 5 for the year. There's always numerous reports of things coming on and going on. Now, again, no one was expecting the senator to show up yesterday as I went with him. And my report is there was absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. The prison was in perfect shape. As the senator entered, I was with him. They didn't have time to send out a mass text or anything like that to say, you need to clean up on aisle 3 to make this look better. The senator is walking down the hall. It was all well maintained. I know there's been a lot of talk of, well, there's no air conditioning out there and not doing anything about it. Now, was there one cell block that the air conditioning was broke? It was. But in the same breath, they had turbine air conditioner doing the best they could until it could be repaired later this week sometime. They did have air running there. They were doing the best they can. Now, you've got to also remember, as I see a lot of people go, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. Parchman are state-run ones. None of these have air conditioner, period. It's a luxury to be in a prison like that. But again, I can't explain the things that have happened in the past and the deaths that have gone on. But as of yesterday, the tour showed nothing that was out of the ordinary. Now, do I think that there are gangs within that? Absolutely. Do they behave for the most part? Do they send out a code when they want someone taken out? They sure do. That's probably what we're dealing with in prisons. Within, after the guards walk off, we all know that they're run by gangs. Y'all know how that works. The hierarchy of prisons is bad. It's not a place you want to go. It should be a reminder to act right. One tour of that, when I was a kid, they used to do things like that. They would do a tour of the jails to where you could see what it's like on the other side. Sometimes I think kids don't realize what the reality is, the younger generation of what's out there. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have some folks that are old enough to know better that get arrested and go to prison. But it's a prime example of a good visit of someone that's starting to go the wayward way to go see what really goes on behind bars. The most excitement in their day was seeing me and the senator walk by. You're there. I think the lowest sentence person there was in there for 6 years. Not a lot to look forward to each day, is it? If you do the crime, you will end up there. And I support those being incarcerated for what they do wrong. I do believe in that. When they get out, they do deserve a fair shake at life again. But again, as I went through there, it was nothing that jumped out that said this is wrong. I just think as we get into that, there's more to it within the criminals itself. As we look at the Trump assassination, the attempted assassination, the second person has gotten out of jail. Let me back up on that, out of the hospital. That's a praise God. It is a wonder we didn't have mass casualties at that. But we are so fortunate to say this morning that the second person has been released from the hospital and will be recovering at their home. That is wonderful. As we look at other stories that are going on with the president, we see that he tells the Secret Service to step it up. They told him they didn't need him to do any more outdoor rallies, and Trump said, pick your game up. I'm going. You come along. I don't see Trump as someone who would back down just because someone made an attempt at him. He's going to show them he's strong and he will stand there, as any leader should do. That's my 2 cents on that. You may disagree with me on that. Here's what's all of this information comes out about this. Now, again, the Secret Service, the top dog who ran Pepsi security before being appointed the head of the most intelligent group there is, the Secret Service. She ran Pepsi. A lot of great qualifications there. They knew about this 2 hours before it happened. Oh, the media has gotten a hold of the text messages within that. They were texting back and forth about the young man that did it. They watched him sitting at a picnic table. They knew he was there, and still nothing was done by those in charge. Now, that's bad. They let that man go on stage knowing that there was a threat. You even noticed the bicycle, the backpack. And they knew without a shadow of a doubt, as we had heard at the beginning of 10 minutes before he walked on stage, that there was a problem. Nothing was done. That's a little update on all of that. The local SWAT team, and I'll finish it with this, the local SWAT team that was involved in all this says that it was lack of planning when it comes to the Secret Service. They were with the regular police. They're saying there was a lot of lack of planning. I think the rest of America sees that. And I do agree, term limits on everything, term limits would nationwide. There's folks that go off to Congress and go in broke and end up millionaires when they get out. And that's strange. We'll be right back with your forecast as we begin this day. We'll get deeper into this forecast to let you know just how bad, hot, and rain, all that good stuff that's on the way. We'll be right back in a moment.
As the days get hotter, Sanders Gas reminds you to get your air conditioner tuned up. Sanders Gas can repair or replace your whole unit, whichever you need. Talk to Sanders about a tankless water heater now and never run out of hot water. Find out how easy and affordable it is to cook on gas stoves. And those backyard barbecues are coming. Don't run out of gas. Get yours refilled today. Sanders Gas, since 1946, 611 26th Avenue South, 601-693-4054. The selection is always changing at Massey Supermart Auto Sales with low-mileage cars and trucks. How about a 2022 Jeep Wrangler? Or a 2021 Honda Ridgeline Sport with only 40,000 miles, a GMC Denali, or a 2024 Silverado 2500. Drop in today and find the car that you're looking for. They're packed with low-mileage cars and trucks.
The low-profit dealer, Massey Supermart.
And welcome back to the Scotty Ray Report. As we begin this Monday morning, we're starting out right now at 73. Let's get into our forecast.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
Here's the outlook for today as we glance across this. 94 to 95 expected in Meridian as we get to Philadelphia. A little bit cooler as we get into the Neshoba County Fair. Yeah, 1 degree, 94 is what we're expecting. Columbus Air Force Base around 93 as we go from Greenwood in the Mississippi Delta all the way down to Natchez. Should decrease to about 91, 94 on the northern end, and about 91 by the time you get to Natchez. As we go east, and as you'll notice here, the Meridian area, especially from downtown Meridian all the way to the Bama state line, has a greater chance of rain than you do west of here. Newton will have a chance of rain. The closer you get to Jackson, Vicksburg, that rain will waver off. A 40% chance this afternoon after 2 o'clock. As we go into Demopolis, Alabama, a bigger chance of rain there, and by the time you get to Montgomery, it's going to be a wet one there. Auburn, 89 today. We should see 89 in Birmingham also later today. Now, here's the bad news of what we're looking at. 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. Heat advisory. It is hot, hot. 110 is expected on that thermometer on that side of life. That's going to be hot. So we want you to remember, if you're going to be out and about today working in the yard, make sure to be careful with what you do. Work early or work late. One of the two. Temperature of about 94, and again, the heat index will climb to 110. That's for East Mississippi and also west to Alabama. We're looking at somewhere around 107 Tuscaloosa area there. As we look at the outlook over the next 6 to 10 days, that's what you got. It's warm. Look back to our northwest there. It's even hotter. We got some temperatures coming in from Texas that'll keep it into the mid-90s for a little bit. But boy, California is trying to bring some hot air into Texas. As we look at today, we've got anywhere from 95 to 96 set for that temperature. We'll see 97 tomorrow, topping at 99. Look at these temperatures by Wednesday, all the way through the weekend. It's going to be unbearable in some days. 99, 99, that could top, get into
triple digits before it's over. By Saturday, we decrease down to 97 and a cool 95 on Sunday. 50% chance of rain over the weekend also as we look at that. Let's go another week into this as we get deep into August. August the 5th, we'll see mid-90s all the way through August the 12th there. Rain chances, they're not huge. It'll increase somewhere around the 10th to about a 60% chance of rain there. That's the outlook on that. Now, as we keep going across this morning, something to be concerned of. We'll get to that in a moment. Fishing forecast for today. It looks like our best time is going to be this morning right at 8 a.m. and should be good till 10, right before it gets too hot. So if you can't fish that, next time will be at 8 o'clock tonight as it's getting dark, from 8 o'clock until dark 30 and you can't see. The wind's going to be coming west around 5 this morning. Now, as I mentioned, something we need to be concerned about and we need to watch, especially Florida. This hasn't turned worse yet, but it's sure got all the indications as we look at this. It's a 50% chance of this storm in the Atlantic turning into something possibly coming into the Gulf. We definitely don't need it here in Mississippi or Florida, any of those places, even Alabama. We'll watch this storm closely as it nears our area. Let's come up to radar and take a look at what we're showing this morning. Here's radar as we pull it up bright and early. We see that all through here we got that heat advisory until 7 p.m. Now, if you will notice this northwest corner of Mississippi, we're showing a excessive heat warning. That's going to be there in the Delta. That's hot. Look at the fog that we've got in East Alabama there on the Columbus-Georgia line. We got a lot of heat there. We got some fog going on also. As we dip down, let's go down and take a look at the tropics of what we got. Put on our spaghetti models as we'll see what is going on with this. Not popping up yet. It's going to be coming right across here as this develops. It isn't a storm yet. This is where we expect it, and it could come right up into here. We'll watch all of this as these storms develop out in the Atlantic and make its way toward the Gulf. But again, a 50% chance of that if you're planning a vacation. Keep that in mind over the next 7 to 10 days. We'll be on top of that. As I mentioned, Greg will be in. We'll be going back live here in just a moment here at the Scotty Ray Report. Join us, won't you? It all gets underway at 7 o'clock this morning. We'll see you then.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners.